শিশুদের প্রতি সহিংসতা, শিশুশ্রম, মানসিক স্বাস্থ্য, বাল্যবিবাহ, স্কুল থেকে ঝরে পড়া বন্ধের পাশাপাশি তাদের উন্নয়নে আরও বিনিয়োগ প্রয়োজন বলে জানিয়েছেন সূচনা ফাউন্ডেশনের চেয়ারপারসন এবং বিশ্ব স্বাস্থ্য সংস্থার মানসিক স্বাস্থ্য ও অটিজম বিষয়ক মহাপরিচালকের উপদেষ্টা সাইমা ওয়াজেদ। গত সোমবার রাজধানীর একটি 5 তারকা হোটেলে শিশু সুরক্ষায় প্রথম জাতীয় সম্মেলনে ভার্চুয়ালি যুক্ত হয়ে এক প্রেজেন্টেশনে তিনি কথা বলেন।
Talking about early childhood development and talking about the prosperity of children, but within this conversation we should always remember that a large part of the well-being of children is very closely intertwined with the parents, particularly more often than not the mothers of the children. And in the United Kingdom, I would like to share my condolences with the royal family as they honor the passing of the monarch, but more than anything else, a mother, a working mother, who had to make many of the choices that we make to ensure that her children, grandchildren, have better opportunities in life, well brought up mental and physical health. What does a child's well-being really involve? Which we know now, and through a lot of research, a lot of data, and we define it in a way that has been much more scientifically driven than in years in the past. Particularly when it comes to early childhood care, we forget that it isn't just a biological being that goes up, but there are many other aspects to the well-being of children. In order to ensure that their brain develops, their physical development, as well as all of the other care that's important in a child achieving, being able to grow up as an adult that is happy, that is productive, that is an asset to the country we belong to. So, of course, we recognize that there are material well-beings, there are physical health well-beings, as well as the necessity for children to have the opportunity to grow as persons that are well-balanced and able to cope with the many changes in life and to learn. The global scenario, when we look at how childhood development has evolved and how we are supporting the growth of children, development of children over decades, we have significant reduction all over the world in child mortality because we are able to now focus. We recognize that focusing on maternal health, on prenatal care, on postnatal care, is closely linked with child mortality. So as I said earlier, childhood development is closely intertwined with the health and well-being of the girl. Early childhood development has been a significant focus. We know that neurologically, the first few months are extremely critical for how well the brain functions and brain function development occurs. Adolescence is again a very key period of time when children are developing and learning. Teaching parenting skills is an extremely important and well-recognized area for childhood development. Education, starting off very early in life, is been recognized as a significant area, and a lot of change has occurred in how we think the early years children should be exposed to opportunities for learning. Reducing risk and exposure to violence within the home, within their community, has certainly been a big area where, we at least are concerned but often unable to prevent from occurring. particularly, when it comes to violence within the homes and a recognition of support to the families in order to reduce and prevent harm, as much harm as possible to children. Mental health overall, inadvertently I always, as you can see when I'm talking, that mental health is something that is only now being recognized as a significant issue, something that children are exposed to from a very early age. When they're affected, even during how the brain is developing, by being in the kind of environment that they are, by having a healthy, both physically and mental health environment to grow up and develop. And as they are growing up, to continue to have the necessary skills to face the many challenges that a typical life will bring them. So the Sustainable Development Goals, fortunately, has many areas that are addressed. We have 44 indicators, 14 goals within the SDGs that focus on well-identified and documented areas of hope. So access to resources, starting again, access to resources even for them, starting with the mother. High quality childcare during the early years, not just taking care of the physical needs of the child, but creating opportunities to learn through play, to learn social skills, to learn inclusive skills, acceptance of one another and our differences, improving the mental health services for children and adolescents throughout, starting from when they are within their homes, within the very early years, by providing support to the parents and caregivers. Policies that are family friendly, and we're very, very fortunate that in Bangladesh we have many different policies, but just having policies is not quite enough. We need to know how to implement those policies, with the idea that many families now do not have the same support systems in different countries. Most of our countries do not have family support systems, we do not have social support systems. And there's great variation in what is actually possible in each country and in its culture. Strengthening efforts to immunize children against preventable diseases. And in recent years, with a lot of misinformation, particularly with its impact on developmental disabilities, this has been a significant growing concern, because many of the diseases that we have managed to eradicate are making a comeback because of concerns, again, parental concerns, and a lot of misinformation regarding what is the best practice to immunize children. Now, what really affects children's well-being? Let's kind of talk about Bangladesh's scenario. Violence at home, sometimes physical violence, emotional violence, verbal violence. There is a significant social tolerance for how we punish our children, and even just knowing basic parenting skills that are not always healthy. I mean, research shows us it's not healthy, but it's very totally part of our cultural practice. Being a parent is the one job that none of us go to any training for. It's one day we are who we are, and the next day we have a child, we have several children, we have infants, and nobody teaches us how to be a parent. So supporting parents, supporting the caregiver, supporting the mother, is closely intertwined with ensuring that children develop well. Children develop in a way that they can solve their problems in a healthy manner, that they can learn from their environment, can interact socially conducive manner. Gender-based violence, as a woman, it is an ongoing concern. And imagine a young mother with her child, raising her child, and constantly also worrying about her own physical security within the community. That affects how she raises her child. That affects how she responds, and her child learns to respond to her environment. Child marriage and the fact that we still believe that children as young as 12, 13, 14, as soon as they hit puberty, are acceptable to be married. We can have all of the laws and policies and we can change that, but we cannot change the attitude of people, the beliefs that are often supported generationally. So teaching people how actually it is you are affected when you're married very young, when you were married before you even stopped being a child, is a serious and ongoing concern. Poverty, again, a lot of social and development and economic policies are drive how children live in poverty. We're lucky in Bangladesh, there are significant actions we have taken to reduce poverty in communities. But how does poverty affect child development? We have generations and large communities that continue to suffer because of families living in a way that their children are deprived of adequate nutrition, they're deprived of adequate learning opportunities, they're deprived of healthy, clean living opportunities. Another significant area of concern, of course, is dropout from schools, education, and learning opportunities. We have made significant progress in ensuring that children are attending school, that we have them in school. But again, one of our social belief system is that everybody should be excellent in school. And so children, many of them with a learning disability, many of them with other physical limitations, with complex disorders like autism, end up not being able to complete school, end up dropping out of school because the learning environment, the support system that needs to be there within the education system, the support system that the family needs is really missing. So yes, we do have a really good enrollment, but we do have significant number of dropouts because we also don't provide the right mental health support. We don't address issues of drugs. We don't address the issue of mental health conditions, bullying, extreme anxiety many of these children are facing. And so our education system is very focused on teaching children who are the smartest in the classroom. We do not teach children who are, like me, mediocre, not very well-performing students for many, many reasons. And unless and until we as a society start changing some of those perspectives and practices, all of the policies within the country are not going to make that significant change. We have to really start within the home, teaching the caregivers and parents, as well as teaching teachers. Another thing with dropouts is when children do not perform in that competitive environment. Unfortunately, we have teachers who are not taught how to create a healthy learning environment, a positive learning environment. We are still very much strong believers in punishment as a way to keep children focused, keep children learning, and that again increases our dropout rates. So legal and policy framework, I think that has been mentioned as well. We have the Convention for children with the rights of children. We have a convention for the rights of children with disabilities and people with disabilities. But even within the legal and policy framework, in many ways, it's our own belief systems and cultural practices that prevent the implementation of these excellent policies. In Bangladesh, we have many policies to support our well-being of children, and these policies are comprehensive. They are very progressive, they're driven by research and data. However, again, I would like to reiterate that policies are only as good as we choose to implement and practice. And that implementation and practice requires all of us. So, childhood well-being, we have an education policy that is an inclusive education policy. And again, we have a huge shortage of well-trained teachers, well-trained education staff, as well as management. National Comprehensive Early Childhood Development Policy, again, very scientific-driven, data-driven, and well-informed. Neurodevelopmental Disability Protection Trust Act and protection rules, National Security Strategy, strategic plan for neurodevelopmental disorders. We have strategic plan for adolescent health, a mental health act and policy that is very progressive, daycare act, mental health strategic plan, and mental health policy. All of that incorporates and addresses the main areas that are needed for child development to ensure child development is focused upon the best outcomes for children, best outcome for the population of Bangladesh. But having things on paper isn't enough. Not knowing how these strategies can be implemented within the community, within the homes, and having the right, well-trained people to support such policies is going to mean that we will not have the natural change and progress for our population that we need to have. Some notable progress that I think has already been mentioned are significant increase in vaccination rates, reduction in maternal mortality and infant mortality, age-appropriate breastfeeding information, other maternal health skills, community-based healthcare system that also includes access of children. We're very fortunate in Bangladesh. We have made significant progress. But as we are on the edge of going from an underdeveloped country to a developed country and have hopes of being a middle-income country, we have to now make significant strides beyond these more basic human rights and needs. We have to go much further and now begin to address the much more complicated issues around well-being. Some notable initiatives related to education is increasing enrollment and inclusion. Again, enrollment rate has been a significant step, and we have focused on it. Now we have to look at the quality of education, increasing grade completion rates by ensuring that children do not drop out or are not compelled to drop out for many reasons. One of them, of course, certainly you have an underlying disability and you don't have access to a supportive education environment. If you have mental health needs that are going unmet, if you live in extreme poverty, if you have health conditions, all of those prevent you from completing your education. For girls, early marriage, for boys not having positive discipline structure and other learning supports, bullying, all of these need to be addressed within our education system. School meal policy, because yes, in many many of our school systems, a large part is not having well-balanced, healthy meals from a very early age. The need for the family to be able to provide that, affects their ability to learn. Introducing well-being as a subject within the new curriculum has been a significant and a huge step forward for Bangladesh, and I look forward to its implementation. The school mental health program, again, is an initiative that has been taken very seriously, and we have a very good package that has been prepared, especially for adolescents, that I'm happy to say includes challenges that children with disabilities may face, what their needs may be, as well as mental health. And I look forward to the implementation of these packages and policies that are currently on paper, because in order to ensure that these initiatives are effective, we need to work together, all the sectors, where it involves the families, where it involves the policymakers, and other people that are within the education system will have to work together in order to ensure that many of these really progressive initiatives are implemented in each and every school. Many of the challenges, of course, we face are across the board, all over the world, and certainly in Bangladesh, but I don't think we talk enough about how much violence children are exposed to at a very young age. There is research to show that even newborn infants that are exposed to violent environments, whether it's physical environment directed at them or is existing around them, affects the way their brain is developing, the way their brain responds and learns to respond, and then eventually causes long-term mental health conditions. We talk about post-traumatic stress disorder, but we're only now learning about how trauma and exposure to trauma and what post-traumatic disorder can look like when you've been exposed to long-term violence at a very young age. So that is one of the big challenges. It's not just a challenge that can be addressed by policymakers. It is a challenge that we, within our communities, within our own home, realize that violence is not something that is healthy no matter what age of the child. It really cannot be tolerated. And we then have to provide the support to the families in order to reduce and find healthier ways of solving the problems. And one of the big challenges that has been ongoing in our country, of course, we're a country of water, of river, and teaching and preparing our children how to be safe, teaching the families on situations that can cause drowning and asphyxiation at very young age, making it a part of our cultural practice. I know there are many NGOs that have small, very effective programs to teach children swimming, and even teaching them from a very young age is important. And significantly using, ferries and boats is part of our Bangladeshi life. So teaching children on how to be safe around water, teaching them swimming, teaching even adults and carers around them would go towards a huge way to preventing death and other issues. Early identification of children's needs. We have made significant changes in creating awareness and acceptance of children with disabilities, but identifying learning needs isn't always simply just about identifying disabilities within a medical setting. It's identifying how a child learns best, what is challenging, helping them develop the skills that they need in order to interact with the world in a healthy manner and be engaged in utilizing both the skills that they have, but also mitigating any limitations that they have. Out of school enrollment of children, our society is an agriculture-based society, and therefore keeping education and making sure that despite having needs for learning environments within a non-school setting is important. Participating in economic-based activities, in learning activities is important for not just the child, but the family. So recognize all of that and still providing education is an important aspect and a reality for our country that we have to keep in mind. So as we implement many of these policies, we have to keep in mind the social realities of the needs of the child within that family and community. So nurturing care for early, especially early child development, which certainly involves good health, adequate nutrition, ensuring their safety and security, creating opportunities for early learning. Early learning can happen everywhere, as long as it's holistic. And in order to ensure early learning, you have to make sure that parents and caregivers, and more often than not mothers, also have the skills to teach. If families have to constantly 24/7 be concerned about their own survival and how to have enough money to put food on the table, then how are they going to really have time to care and ensure that the children are well and happy? So responsive caregiving is not something that comes automatic. This is the only job being a parent that we expect someone to be able to do without having any skills, without having any support. Our traditional